Okay, good morning, class. I hope you're doing well today. Due to the previous suspension, we will be having our makeup class. Before we begin, can everyone confirm if they can hear me clearly?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, so today we will discuss an essential topic in research that you can use for your grade 12, which is the sample size determination. By the end of this session, you should be able to understand how to determine right sample size for your studies. So, understanding how to determine the right sample size for research. So, first, let's define sample size. So, what is sample? Hoy, kaya pala namamali. Teka lang, ulit. Promise, last na to. Wala palang slide na nag-aano ng sample size. Kaya parang tumalo na agad dun sa sample. Ulit na from the top plus. Kaya pala ako naguguluhan. Kasi wala palang nakalagay sa PowerPoint na sample size. I-explain ko lang. Okay. Go. Okay, good morning, class. I hope you're all doing well today. Due to the previous suspension, we will be having our makeup class. Before we begin, can everyone confirm if they can hear me clearly?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, so today we will discuss an essential topic in research that you can use for your grade 12, which is the sample size determination. By the end of this session, you should be able to understand how to determine the right sample size for your studies. So first, let's define sample size. A sample is a subset of population that we analyze to make conclusions about the entire group. Why do we use samples instead of studying the whole population? Can anyone share their thoughts? Okay, Shaina.
Because it saves time po, ma'am.
How about Brandon?
It's more practical po, ma'am.
Exactly. Studying an entire population can be time consuming, expensive, or even impossible. That's why researchers use samples to make informed conclusions. First, what is sample? It is a part of population selected for a study. It is determined using sampling procedures and represented as. So, what is sample? A sample is a part of population selected for study that will be determined using sampling procedures and represented. So now, how do we determine the right sample size? If we choose too few participants, our study may not be reliable. And if we choose too many, we waste time and resources. So we must strike a balance. So there are three main factors to consider when determining sample size. The first one is the level of precision or how close the sample estimate is to the true population value. The next one is the level of confidence. It is the probability that the sample truly represents the population. And lastly, the degree of variability or how different individuals in the population are from each other. There are several ways to determine the correct sample size. So the first one is using a census for smaller populations, and second is using past studies with similar sample sizes, and lastly, using published tables that provide recommended sample sizes. So, can anyone think of a real life scenario where choosing the right sample size is crucial? Okay, how about Julian?
Medical research po, ma'am.
Yes, both are correct. In medical trials, a too small sample might not detect side effects, while in election polls, a too large sample wastes resources. Now, let's talk about how to select samples. There are two types of sampling methods. Probability sampling, where every element has an equal chance of being selected, which has its own types, which are the simple random sampling, systematic random sampling, stratified random sampling, and cluster sampling. And non-probability sampling, where some elements have a higher chance of selection, which are the convenience sampling, purposive sampling, sampling, and lastly, the quota sampling. So now, which do you think is more reliable?
Probability sampling po, ma'am.
Correct! Probability sampling ensures fairness and accuracy in research. If we know the total population size, we can use Yamane's formula. So the N is the population and the small letter E is the margin of error. So where N is equals to the population size and E is the equals to margin of error. So let's try. So, a researcher is studying the study habits of 800 students with a 5% of margin of error. How many students does the researcher need for the study? So, who would like to distribute or answer this question? Okay, Cheryl.
800 student po, ma'am.
Okay, 800 students is the population size. How about the margin of error?
5% po, ma'am.
So correct. The correct sample size. Okay. So before we proceed, can anyone get their calculation and distribute the given to the Yamani's formula? Then give me give me the give me the final answer. Oh, what would be the correct sample size is? Okay, Brandon.
267 student po, ma'am.
Okay. That's correct. So, what if the population is unknown? If we don't know the population size, we use Cochran's formula. The Z is the Z score. The P is the estimated proportion of the population, while the E is the margin of error. So the following variables starting with the Z is the Z score based on the confidence level. So let's try this problem. A researcher studies public perception of AI in education with a 95% confidence level and a 5% margin of error. How many students does the researcher need if his population remains unknown? So I will give you 1 minute to answer this problem. On. So first, so first, what is the confidence level? Let's identify the given muna. So what is the confidence level? Kay Shaina
95% po, ma'am.
or
1.96 po pala, ma'am.
good. Now, what's the estimated proportion? What is the estimated proportion? So it's 0.5. So now what's the margin of error? We would like to answer. Okay, correct. That we have all the given, let's substitute the given to the variables in the formula. So get your calculators again and compute the following given. So what would be the final answer? You can chat your answers on the chat box. Okay, that's correct. From this, we can get the correct sample size as 384 respondents. Okay, so for the conclusion, the sample size depends on precision, confidence level, and variability. Use Yamane's formula for known population and use Cochran's formula for unknown populations. The right sampling method ensures accurate and reliable results. So, any questions? If there's none, that wraps up today's lesson. Thank you for participating. Don't forget to review today's discussion for our The Compass worksheet. Have a great day. Goodbye, 11 Jotham.